Hello and welcome to this second video that is going to really focus on string manipulation today. Now what I want you to really understand is how you can do a lot with text, and we're going to go through some basic tutorials. Now I've deliberately started this tutorial with my name in capital letters, all right? And my reason for this is I want to show you some tools that you can do. Now if I'm to print out my name variable, remember the word variable that we were working with, if I'm to print that out and run that, you can see it's just going to print it as normal, all right? But what I might want to do is print that, and if you put dot lower at the end of it, it uses the built-in libraries within Python and it makes everything lowercase. That may be useful later on when you're comparing characters or one thing or another, but let me just run that. And you can see the difference there. All right. If I hashtag that out and I just put in Chambers there, all right, what I can now do is go print name.upper. So I can actually make it go uppercase as well. So let's have a look. That's now all capital letters. So you've got two functions there to make them go. So you can do, I'm going to say, you can go dot lower to lowercase, or you can go dot upper to go higher. Uppercase. All right, sorry, I'll say that again. Uppercase. Now, there are other things that you can do with strings. Now, I may want to index, and what I mean by index is pick on specific letters. So if I was to say here, let's hashtag this, let's just edit this one actually. Say, for example, I want the letter R. Position 0 is the first, okay, because when we index from 0. You'll learn this later on in more depth when we talk about arrays, or in Python's case, lists. So if I run this now, you can see the letter R appears. I might want the letter C, so let's see where we're going to start. So I've run that. I might want to start from C and move forward and show all the letters after that. Well, what you can actually do is say you can use the semicolon and you can go along to 12. So that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we've gone forward. So if I run that now, I've now gone up to the 12th character. Okay, so what you are able to do there is use indexing to include specific parts of strings if you want. So that's one thing you can do. Now, I'm going to show you another thing that you can do. Sometimes you might want to replace parts of strings. So what you could actually do is, say for example, I said, all right, we're going to say new name equals name dot replace. Watch what I'm going to replace. I am going to replace the name Ray with another name. So what you have, and you can see here, it says old string. I'm going to replace the name Ray, comma, with a new string. So I'm going to say Raymond. I'm going to put my full name in. Now, if I was to print out new name and run that, let's have a look and see what it does. So I've got Chambers, which was this part of the code here, because you can actually choose the letter, all right? And then down here, I printed the new name. Now, one other thing that you can do as well, you can find out the length. Now, whereas with indexing, we tend to start at 0 and move our way up. With len, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So what I could do is print out the len of new name, and that would show me how many characters are in that string. So how many characters are in the string. You can use len for lots of different things, like arrays. You can find out how many items are in the array, and they'll come useful later on, particularly when you've got to do a loop. And I'm going to print out the new name replaced. So I'm just going to show you that, and we're going to run that, and what you should see is the length of new name 16. All right, so there are 16 characters here because it includes the space as well. You need to remember that. All right, so that is just a kind of brief introduction to some of the things that you may wish to do. One more thing that you may want to do is you can actually split up arrays, split up these strings into arrays. You're going to learn about arrays later on, but I'm just going to demonstrate an example, all right? I'm going to say new name equals new name dot split, and you can tell it where to split it. So I know that there's a space in the middle of it. And what it will do is it will take the space out and it will split it into two. And you'll see what I do in a minute. Print new name. So I'm going to run this and you'll see what is happening in each step now. So can you see I've now actually got that separated into a list. Lists are something we will learn about later on, but they can be useful, particularly if you've got a large piece of text that you're working with or a large list of names that are in one string. For example, I could have a list of names, list equals Ray, Jennifer, Emma, Hannah, Robert, so I've got my string here, and what I can do is I can split this by the comma, and I'm going to say names list. And this time, names list. When I print that out, I've split that, and that should show me a list of all of those names. So let's check it. So you can see each name has now been given an individual item in a list, and you'll be able to use loops and iteration for this later on. So that's a simple video on how to do some uppercase, how to index and look at specific characters, and also how to output. And you can combine that with the input that you've used in your previous video. So I hope that's been useful. Have a go.